the deep chocolate passion wedding cake, and I'm going to show you how to tier 2 layers. That's something that really terrifies people before they do it for the first time, but you're going to see that it really is pretty easy. We have a 9-inch layer and a 6-inch layer. And the first thing that we need to do is to determine exactly where the 6-inch layer is going to sit on top of the 9-inch. So I found a little pot lid. This is 6 inches, and we don't want to see the mark of the when we set this on, even though we can decorate it with a few chocolate pearls around the border or pipe border. It's still better to have the straw supports inside where you can't see it. So this bottom of the lid is narrower in circumference and diameter, rather, or both. So that's going to make the mark. And you want to hover right on top of it or use a little ruler if you don't trust your eye to make the mark. And see, it just barely touched it. This is the glaze. You can see how it won't even barely leaves a fingerprint when it's set. Believe it or not, these plastic straws can hold an enormous weight, especially when you set several of them in. For the 12-inch layer, we would use maybe 6 or 8. It's much better than a wooden dowel, which are hard to cut and also displace the cake. This only displaces the cake at the very perimeter. See, I can put quite a bit of weight, and it's not even going to be this high. But in order to determine the height, we want them all to be cut the same height because we want the cake to be level, and it helps to level the cake to have these straws at the same height. In fact, you can even make them an 1/8 inch higher than the top of the cake. It won't show if you pipe the border around afterwards, and then it becomes easier when you want to take one tier off the next. It doesn't lift the frosting off. But I'm going to show you how to do it totally level. So I'm taking the first one right inside my mark so it won't show, and that will give the most support. And inserting it straight down so I really know that I've touched the bottom. And then I'll make a little mark with pencil just at the level. A little bit above because I don't want to put pencil on the chocolate. And then I can cut right below it. And then let it work its way out. And kids like to take this little biopsy that we've taken out. But you can even see from the chocolate where it is. And then cut right below it. Hold on to it because it's going to jump. Whoop. Promised it would. Now we want to have 5 of these because one will be in the center, and that will give it even more support. And it's important that each one, as I said, be the same basic height or length. Now I'm going to hold on to both. You want sharp shears. That's the best way to cut them. And always use the first one as your guide because that's the most even one. Now this is something that you can't prepare ahead because it really is determined by the exact finished height of the cake. If you're going to move the cake after you've made it and tiered it to the final location, it's better to make these straws the exact height. But if you're going to get to do it at the place where the ceremony is being held, then you can make them a little higher and it's not risky to transport the cake. Okay, we have one more. And nobody knows these are in here, but it gives you a lot of security. So I'll put the first one in the middle. As you can see, the middle is slightly higher, so it's going to sink in beautifully. And then the one where I already made the hole. And we're spacing them more or less equidistantly. And of course, somebody once said, well, why aren't you putting straws in the top tier? Well, it's only supporting air, but air doesn't weigh a lot. You don't have to do it in the top tier, plus you don't want to see it. But if you're putting a cake topper on that's very heavy, then you'd want to put support under that too. I like to use a heavy-duty pancake turner or hamburger spatula, as some people call it, to lift the tiers. And here's the part where you want to make sure that, I'm going to bring it a little closer to me, that you get it right centered in the middle. But the way to pull out this turner, the pancake turner, without marring the cake is to have ready a little offset spatula. So I'm aiming for that circle. That looks good. If you have another person in the house, call them and say, how am I doing? But if not, you're on your own. And so you pull out this one, and then when you get to the very edge, the little one, which will make the least mark, gets pulled out. And it's good. It hit just the right part, because at this point it would be close to impossible to move the cake. And here you have the finished tiered cake. This lacquer glaze stays really shiny unless it gets subjected to cold temperature, and then it gets slightly dull. But you can restore it very easily by using a hairdryer, just running it along the side until the glisten returns. Don't use too high a heat because you don't want to make dents in the frosting, just enough to soften and brighten the glaze.